3 o'clock on this Wednesday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Appreciate you being with us. Lots to get to on today's program. Shane Beamer and the other 15 coaches at the Southeastern Conference speaking briefly today as part of the SEC Coaches Teleconference. We'll get the latest on that for you in just a bit. Our buddy Alan Cole from Gamecock Scoop, the rival site that covers Carolina football, will join us bottom of the hour. Our buddy Joe Person not joining us today. He's busy. But he does have a piece out at The Athletic today questioning whether or not the Charlotte/Carolina Panthers should trade Bryce Young. Right now, they say they have no interest. Remember that David Tepper instructed his folks to trade not one, but two first-round picks, and not one, but two second-round picks, and the team's best wide receiver to go get Bryce Young. There are whispers that the Panthers have a value in mind for Bryce, and then there are rumors about what value others might have for Bryce, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. Let's just say for now that the three levels of value that I just gave, one that is factual because the Panthers did it, and the other two that are potential, do not, Elijah Campbell, all align with one another.
I wonder why that might be.
Well, because they've already ruined this kid. That's how.
So you're telling me no one's going to want to spend more than, I don't know, a third or fourth round draft pick?
How's Sam Darnold's team doing right now?
They're undefeated.
Yeah.
And he looks good.
How's Baker Mayfield? He's all right.
They're 2-1.
Yeah, you know.
With the exception of losing to your Broncos.
That's okay. I'm just saying. Everybody, now it's, clearly it was just Bryce because Andy Dalton. I was like, well, the Raiders aren't very good either.
Yeah, the Raiders also have their own.
Yeah, I still don't know how the Raiders beat the Ravens, but that's another story. Anyway, we'll touch on those things for you. My Atlanta Braves looked great last night. Michael Harris is on fire. Spencer Schvellenbach was brilliant. The Braves just a game back of both the D-backs and Mets. So there's still a great chance. My hope meter went up about 2 notches last night. Chris Sale goes tonight. Max Fried scheduled for tomorrow. The only caveat here, kids, is that this hurricane, what's it called? Helene,
I think. I've read it. I have not heard it.
I think that's right. Helene is headed straight for Atlanta. Okay, you and I talked yesterday. It's like basically going to hit the Panhandle, take I-75 north.
Straight into the ballpark.
Just driving along, just driving.
Just play in it.
Yeah.
Get some wacky results.
And then head up into the Appalachian Mountains. So don't know what the next couple of days look like for the Braves. And could be and if it's happened in the last few minutes and I haven't seen it, it could be a possibility of them altering the schedule if necessary. If they had to postpone one of these, you could go play your weekend series. I think I want to say the Mets go to Milwaukee, but don't quote me on that.
About to find out.
The Braves host Kansas City. I do know that. But you might have to play on Monday. I don't know. But the playoffs are scheduled to begin on Tuesday. So we'll see. But good win last night, 5-1. And
they're at Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought.
They've already played all their home games. How about that?
Yeah. So we'll see. But Braves, just a game back. Again, win tonight. You're in playoff mode. And the team was admitting as much last night in postgame. Like, we understand. We need wins, period. End of story. So, Snit's got them ready to go. Now just keep it going. So we'll do all that for you, too. We'll talk more about the off-week issues around Carolina football, what people are most concerned about. Yesterday we had 2 poll questions in towards the end of the broadcast, and we'll bring those back up again. One dealing with where you feel Carolina is 1 through 16 in the conference, and the other on what you think Carolina's final record will be. And I felt like, at least when we last left this subject yesterday, the record one, the bulk was around 7-5. Am I right about that?
That is correct. And the final results, because it did expire at some point today, is still 7-5. 41.3% of the vote is feeling 7-5.
And like I said, that to me, you're asking this ball club to go 4-4 the rest of the way with two of those games against definitely an improved Vanderbilt.
Yes.
I am taking nothing from Vanderbilt, so I'm not going, oh, you're going to beat Vanderbilt, but you should beat Vanderbilt. And but I am absolutely here to say clearly Vanderbilt has beaten a good Virginia Tech team. A Virginia Tech team who has Miami coming in this weekend, by the way. Virginia Tech is 2-2, and you might go, 2-2. They've lost by 6 combined points.
Mm-hmm. And Rutgers is good.
Rutgers is pretty good.
I've been trying to tell folks. Rutgers,
yeah.
pretty good.
So Virginia Tech is good, and Vanderbilt beat them, and Vanderbilt pushed Missouri in Como to double overtime.
1 week after losing to Georgia State. I don't understand it.
Well, they Vanderbilted. So there is that part of it. But anyway, you've got games against Vanderbilt and Wofford. So you're being asked to win 2 of the remainder of those games, including Missouri and A&M coming to Williams-Brice Stadium, which you feel like could be your best opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
I'm relishing the opportunity they have against Mississippi next week. I do think they can defend well in that one. Can they score enough? Ole Miss doesn't really have a great schedule yet, so it's hard. It's kind of like Tennessee. It's hard to gauge until they play somebody good. Tennessee went to Norman and clearly was clearly the better team. There's no doubt about that. But we saw Oklahoma defend Tennessee pretty well, but I don't know enough about Mississippi's defense really against at least SEC caliber players. You need your guys back and healthy. It does feel like maybe the 3 guys that you might rank as the best players so far are injured, although I do love what Mazeo Bennett is doing. I still want to see Gamecock tight ends get more involved in the pass game than they have at this point. Certainly you want to see Nick Harbor get more involved and engaged. But Jared Brown has been good. I do like Mazeo. I like what he's doing, and you want to see
such a good route runner for someone that young.
And Larvadain and Campbell too. I want to see those guys get going. They're trying, and at some point we've said this, and maybe while you're working on yourself this week, it may well be that Coach Loggins and Coach Furry begin to, and Coach Elliott to some degree too, with the tight ends, begin to separate the wheat from the chaff, if you will, on, all right, here's who we're running with the rest of the way. Regardless, I do not believe it is too much to ask of this iteration of Gamecock football based on what we've seen, especially defensively, to go win 4 more football games and get yourself to a decent bowl. I don't think that's anything to throw a parade over, and I don't want anybody to ever take that, it's like, hey, 7 wins, woohoo. Nah, see, I'm not that guy. You're never going to hear that from me. I mean, like I said, to me, 8 is the floor, should be the floor here. You had a large enough sample size over time to say you can do that. And so I don't know that it's a huge ask. I know some of you will push back on me and the difference in 5-3 and 4-4 the rest of the way to say, I think you can go 5-3. Now, that means you're going to have to really pull a couple of upsets, but that's part of what this sport is about, is going out and knocking somebody off that you're not supposed to beat, per se. That's how you climb the ladder. You don't because you're going to be favored in probably the 2 games I just talked about.
That's it. Yeah, you're going to pull upsets. You'll be home underdogs, more likely. A&M, you might be like.
I was going to say maybe A&M, depending on how both of you are doing. By the time the bookmakers want to put a real number on that one relative to a summer number on that one, you might. But other than that, no, you're not. I mean, Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss. I looked at the FPI the other day. I haven't looked at it in a couple of days, but I think it was like 80%. Man,
they're heavy favorites.
Yeah. Again, there's no spread on that game yet. I mean, again, there might have been a summertime spread, but I don't care about a summertime spread.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But Monday morning, when the Vegas books begin to slap some numbers down, I want to see what that is. It's going to be double digits.
Oh, certainly. unless Kentucky just throttles them, which if that happens,
or just
that's
beats them up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Ole Miss can win, but I think if you're a Carolina fan, you're hoping that Mark Stoops takes his team down to Oxford and just bullies them on up front. And I don't know if they're gonna.
Yeah. I really don't think so. That Ole Miss offensive line and defensive line is really good.
Yeah.
That might be the more complete teams in the SEC.
Well, that's where they went.
Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee's.
I know
Texas.
they spent some money on some skill guys, but Lane understands this league. And just like what Shane has done here, if you want to get better, in the quickest way possible in this league, you better be able to protect your quarterback, and you better be able to get after a quarterback.
Protect yours, terrorize the others.
Yeah.
That's the secret.
That's
South Carolina's done a really good job terrorizing the others.
They have.
And taking advantage of suspect offensive lines.
So, I mean, it's
Missouri may have.
It's there for you. So we'll see. We'll get into that for you again a little bit on the Panthers, the Braves, and Alan Cole coming up in just a bit. And later on today, we're giving away. I don't want to step out of bounds. We're giving away tickets later.
Are we?
I don't know.
I haven't looked through the log yet. Yes, we are. We are. And you have to listen for the cue to call. That's going to be in the imaging of the commercials and not from our mouths.
Imaging, industry
That's
term.
right. Industry term. Yeah, efforting. We'll be efforting the imaging that's going to be necessary to give these tickets out. But it's there. I'm looking at it right now. I won't see what time it is, but it's going to be coming up. So you got to keep listening.
So in the meantime, not now. I'm going to give you the phone number. It's not to win tickets. It's just to participate. 803-404-6100. I'm going to go ahead on the other side. I want to set up. We'll come back around to the Gamecocks and Alan Cole in just a little bit. But I do want to set up for further discussion later the number one story in college athletics today. And it is happening in Sin City, but it has nothing to do with gambling. Well,
it's a different type of gamble.
It was a gamble.
How about that?
I like that. If
There's
you haven't,
theme.
if you haven't heard about this, I'm here to tell you. I'm dead serious when I say this. This is going to become, if it hasn't already, in a matter of hours, the single biggest NIL story yet in college sports. And we'll have some details when the postgame show returns. Now, I love telling you about places where people genuinely get helped, and one of those places is the men's clinic out in Irmo. Dr. Dan Balknight and his team have been doing it for years, getting guys to feel like themselves again because, things do taper off in life, and you may just feel off and not know why. Mentally, physically, physiologically, emotionally. All of the above and more. Well, when you get that consultation with Dan, he'll sit down with you and get to the root of the issues, get you back to feeling like you used to. There is no such thing. I've said this many times because it's true. No such thing as a one-size-fits-all treatment at the men's clinic. They are experts in healthcare for men, and they are dedicated to making you feel like yourself again. Set up that consultation. Do yourself a favor and those around you. 803-875-MENS. That's 803-875-MENS. And learn more right now at themensclinicsc.com. All right, welcome back into the postgame show. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Appreciate you being with us. Alan Cole going to join us talking Gamecocks. A little bit of what Shane Beamer had to say earlier today in just a little bit. But like I said, and I'm not trying to be hyperbolic here. I'm genuinely not, y'all. I don't do that to you unless I'm really trying to make a point. So maybe I am, but I am not using hyperbole in my own opinion when I tell you hyperbole. This is getting ready to become the biggest story yet in NIL. UNLV has a transfer quarterback named Matthew Sluka. He came over from Holy Cross. He was one of the very best quarterbacks in the FCS the last couple of years. Absolute dual threat guy, and he's really good. UNLV is ranked this season in the coaches poll. That's the first time they've been ranked in nearly 40 years. They didn't get vote. They got votes rather. They didn't. I think they're 26th, if you will, in the AP poll. They're 3-0. They've beaten Kansas on the road. They have Fresno coming in this weekend, I think, for their first conference game in the Mountain West. And yesterday, Matthew Sluka left the UNLV football team. Now, depending on your point of view and what you've read, he left, he quit. You know, there's a lot of ways to look at it. And I know in a brief conversation that I had with Terry as we traded out studio space here, he and I don't necessarily see eye to eye on this. That's fine. Believe me, I've seen enough of this already today. And Elijah and I have touched on this briefly with one another. But here's the deal from what we know right now. And I'm gonna read right now from Pete Thamel and Adam Rittenberg of ESPN, but I know Feldman and the guys at The Athletic are also chasing this one down. I know Ross Dellinger's all over it from Yahoo. So the very best national guys, Pete Nakos at On3, all these guys are on this story. They've all shifted from Georgia, Alabama stuff, or again, that Miami, Virginia Tech game or whatever. Everything's focused on this, and here's why. This kid has an agent. I don't know a lot about him. His name is Marcus Cromartie. He has spoken with ESPN, and he said that back in January, Matthew Sluka and his father, Bob, who has also been talking a lot today, got a verbal promise from a UNLV assistant coach named Brennan Marion, the offensive coordinator, for $100,000 to come to UNLV, and that it would all be taken care of. Now, he was not going to be able to go through spring ball because he was graduating from Holy Cross, and he wanted his degree from Holy Cross, which is a great school and good for him. So he got his degree in May.
The Fighting Bob Cousies.
That's right. Gordy Lockbaum, right? Gordy Lockbaum finished like fifth in the Heisman about 30 years ago. He was a good one. Anyway, let's not don't get me going on third and fourth place Heisman guys. So he enrolls this summer, wins the starting job. He's good. I don't know if he's not NFL, I don't think, but he's good. And again, he's leading them to a place that they have not been in a long, long time. And right now, there's some who are projecting them. It's early. It's still September as the best G5 team in the country. Again, we'll see. $100,000 verbal promise. And according to the agent and the dad, the kid has received a total of $3,000 for moving expenses. That's
it's just a bit short.
They also apparently met with Barry Odom. Yes, that Barry Odom, formerly of Missouri and DC rather at Arkansas?
Correct.
And he's the head coach of the Rebels. Says, hey, the offer didn't come from me. I can't speak for Brennan, but you got to go through me. And they're like, well, I mean, this dude works for you, and if he's out here promising amounts, it should come from your direction, right? Not somebody else's. And now Barry Odom isn't talking. Brennan Marion isn't talking. Shannon Cottrell is the person that runs what their collective. It's called Friends of UNLV. Get a better name. None of them are talking. Now, that's fine, right, in and of itself. It's fine. But like I said, they've paid this kid $3,000. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying this kid has let his team down, that his teammates didn't do this to him, and he needs to stick it out. Okay. I've seen others who say, good for the kid. Because if somebody makes you a promise, verbal or written, and you take them at their word, as we are wont to do in an honest society, then good for you for holding up your end of the bargain. You know, like, okay, I got to look out for me. And the reason he quit last night is because he can't play in another game and maintain his final year of collegiate eligibility. If you play in a fourth game, it's over. He's played in 3, and he's done well. Again, they're 3-0, and he's got some good numbers. Six touchdown passes, 1 pick, a couple of touchdowns through the air, or on the ground, I mean, and like 200 and something yards on the ground in 3 games. I mean, he's, again, solid
player.
Yeah, solid numbers. So, you know, Pete and Adam today are saying that the offer wasn't valid. They once they talked to Barry Odom, the head coach, the guy that runs another company that manages their collective. I mean, you got somebody that runs the collective and somebody that manages the collective. What the hell's the difference?
That's the confusion of all of this.
There again, right?
Herein lies our problem.
Part of the problem. Yeah. There's a company called Blueprint Sports, it says, that manages the collective. And he said he was not aware of any promises to pay Matthew Sluka $100,000 and that Sluka had not contacted the collective about missing payments as far as he knew.
Ah, yes. I love the end right there. As far as I know.
That's one of my favorite lines, man.
Yeah.
You've known me how long?
Good. This is good, yeah.
You know, people like, hey, as far as you know. You don't always need to look behind that curtain.
That insinuates that something sinister could be going on, but you're doing a really good job of performing the plausible deniability.
Let me read this right here. Again, Pete Thamel, Adam Rittenberg. Because Marion's offer to Sluka was verbal and never formalized, there are varying versions of what happened. Sources tell ESPN that Sluka approached Coach Odom about the money in recent days and practiced Monday with the Rebels, but then didn't practice Tuesday. The senior transfer announced Tuesday on social media that he would not play for the Rebels again this season and that he planned to use his redshirt year. The kid says this on Twitter last night. I have decided to utilize my redshirt year and will not be playing in any additional games this season. I committed to UNLV based on certain representations that were made to me, which were not upheld after I enrolled. Despite discussions, it became clear that these commitments would not be fulfilled in the future. I wish my teammates the best of luck this season and hope for the continued success of the program. So there's everybody talking. Coach Odom, I didn't make that offer. The assistant that did, silent. The collective, we don't know anything about this, and the kid hadn't come to us. Agent, $100,000. Dad, $100,000. Kid, certain representations that were made to me which were not upheld. I don't know where you fall, Elijah Campbell, but this kid and this team were headed somewhere good. It is my opinion, and I want to stress that last word, that this kid is doing this because he feels lied to, and that he feels the only way I can make this right is to stand up for myself and maintain a year of eligibility. I do not see it as some form of cowardice where he quits on his team. I can appreciate that point of view, but I do not buy into it. I think this kid feels lied to, feels misled, and is doing what a lot of kids are going to start doing until we get these things collectively bargained.
Yep. I think the biggest thing here is, A, this kid's agent sucks.
Fair.
How are you going to go on a verbal promise and say, yep, this is good enough, let's get you to UNLV, son, we're going to get that $100K. No problem. I hadn't signed anything, but no problem. No, we'll get that. No, that's dumb. That's incredibly dumb. And this is a lesson that in this space, these athletes need to be very, very careful who they trust with their futures, because this is as much on the agent as it is the school, right? The agent is the one who's supposed to be able to weed through BS. He couldn't do it at all, and you couldn't get anything on paper. That's on you, buddy. So, going on to the rest of the story with Sluka and UNLV, I know of so many instances where coaches will lie to players, whether it be about a role on a team, how much money they can get, and they go to the campus, and all of that goes out the window completely. And it's manipulative. There are a lot of instances in college athletics where that's the case, where it's incredibly manipulative, and they'll say whatever they can to get a kid on campus. And when they first get to when they actually do get to campus, none of the visions they had for them, or they said they had for them, come to fruition. And a lot of times they don't come close to fruition, right? Even at like a Division II, Division III level. I have enough connects like in the college basketball world, even at the Division II, Division III level, where I hear of things that are so incredibly bad that happen to some of those kids once they get there based off the things that they were told, and they don't come to fruition. Does it suck that this kid had to peace out on his team after a 3-0 start? Yeah, that sucks, dude. That's terrible. And for his teammates, this ain't their fault.
Right.
And they have to suffer the consequences. That's terrible. That is absolutely brutal. And the more that comes out about this story, the less I believe UNLV, and the more that I get it. Like, I get it. I'm one of those that, like, if you sign up to do something, you have to finish what you start. But if you do it on a false premise, then the waters get a little murky. It's not like he was promised $100,000, got $97,000, and quit over $3,000.
Right.
There's a big bleeping difference between $3,000 and $100,000. That is a large, large sum of money. And if he finished the entire year, how can he trust them to get that money back to him when he could have gone somewhere else and made money? Like, look, good quarterback. He's completing 43% of his passes this year. He ain't going to the NFL. This is it.
Yeah.
I understand it. I understand.
We'll have more on this coming up for you. There are other facets of this that continue to make it fascinating. On the other side of the break, though, back to the Gamecocks, our buddy Alan Cole. What did Shane Beamer say today, especially on the injury front? We'll get that as the postgame show continues. Hunting season's here. Tailgate season's here. Back to school is here. Is a new vehicle here? If not yet, let me recommend that you finance that next one with our good friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. There may not be a better place than Palmetto Citizens to finance that next vehicle. Some terrific low rates. And as the rate environment improves, man, the ability for you to save even more at Palmetto Citizens improves as well. They offer the same low rates on all new to 21 models. Some great options for older vehicles as well. Many plans with no payments for up to 90 days. Plus, they can finance over 100% of the retailer purchase price on new to 21 models, and they've got some additional coverage and insurance options that dealerships just can't offer you. It really is that simple. So go shop for that vehicle, then check with Palmetto Citizens before you finance anywhere else. Apply right now. Learn more. PalmettoCitizens.org. We've been talking about that big NIL story out at UNLV. There's a lot of initials in that, but we're going to come back around to it in just a bit. And let me tell you, Florida fans, you've already been through a little something. UNLV fans, I feel for you. And everybody else that loves college sports, whatever school you pull for, hope that this kind of thing doesn't happen to you next. I'm so serious about this, but we got a lot more to talk about on that one. Before we talk to Alan, I do want to remind you about Sips and Sounds. It's coming up this Saturday. It's a pretty cool event, y'all. Unlimited. You heard me right. Unlimited sampling of over 40 brands of local and national craft beers, wines, seltzers, spirits, live performances by Ken and Drew from Sister Hazel. Dazer's going to be there. The Donovan twins are going to be there. It's all this Saturday. You can go to sipsandsoundscola.com and get some wristbands. And I think they've put a little discount on those.
They have.
So check that out. And if you do the upgrade, you get some Hall's Chop House food.
Oh, see, that's the kicker right there.
So
that's enough. That's enough for me.
It does sound like a really fun event. sipsandsoundscola.com. They got a cool little website, too.
They do.
Yeah. So check that out. Always fun talking to our buddy Alan Cole, GamecockScoop.com, the rival site covering Carolina athletics. What's the most money that's ever been promised to you in NIL only to be pulled off the table, Alan?
I'm going to have to go with $0.00. I never quite got to the level of being a college athlete.
Okay. Well,
an offer you couldn't refuse.
Unless you're making an offer right now.
No, I don't. No, listen.
On-air negotiations.
I work in radio, so I am not. What did Shane Beamer tell us today? This is the only opportunity on the coaches teleconference to have anything public today. What did we learn?
Not a ton. It's just 10 minutes every week with, every SEC coach goes on there. He talked a little bit about special teams today. I thought it was interesting. He brought up kind of unprompted just that he wants to get the return game going a little bit more. That was maybe my biggest takeaway from the limited interaction we got. That, he mentioned they haven't done enough in the kick or the punt return game. Talked a little bit about 2 bye weeks, how he just kind of feels like they're gonna do the same thing on both bye weeks that they've done kind of the last 3 years on byes. That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday practice, introducing Ole Miss this week, and then they're all going out on the road recruiting starting tomorrow, and players getting a little bit of a long weekend before you set up next week. But that was about it today.
All right, so no injury updates?
Not an injury update today. We got the last one Sunday on his local media teleconference, and it kind of echoed what he said Saturday after the game, that he thinks guys are going to be good to go, but of the 3 big ones right now, Rocket is still the most questionable for Ole Miss.
Interesting, yeah. And I guess in terms of, Lenoris' status, too, had the boot on the sideline, and there's 2 whole weeks basically to heal up and get ready for the Ole Miss game, but you'd like to have him practice a few days, at least before that. You don't want his first, action in football again to be in that game. But based off of kind of like what you're hearing or the kind of reading between the lines, what do you think the status of Lenoris is for the next game against Ole Miss? And if you had to put maybe a percentage number on it that we see him start.
Percentage is tough. I do think it's ticking in the right direction. I think you saw him on the sideline Saturday against Akron. He was moving around okay. He was not warming up, but he was still out there with the team during warm-ups, kind of moving around a little bit. It's hard to put a percentage on it right now, 10 days out, but I'm going to say 60%. I think it's more likely than not, but I don't think it's a lock. Mm-hmm. Just sitting here 10 days out, and we're going to get Beamer Tuesday and then an SEC mandated injury report 3 days leading up to the game. So long way to go there, but I think it's probably ticking in the right direction.
What are you hearing, Alan, about where this team feels like it needs to focus most of its energy when it comes to working on itself this week? Is it the areas that have been problematic, like procedural penalties? Is it trying to find ways to I don't know, narrow the scope of the depth chart at receiver? I don't know. I'm throwing a couple things at you, but I don't want to answer your question here. So where do you feel like they're most focused?
Yeah, I think there's 2 that have really jumped out just from kind of what Shane told us, and you kind of look at what's going on. One is offensive line and specifically pass protection. They've blocked pretty well in the running game the last 2 weeks, really better the second half of Kentucky, too, going back to week 2. But, given up 16 sacks in 4 games. That's just not sustainable. You saw even Akron got some pressure pretty regularly in the passing game last week. So that's one. And then 2, this might have been the thing, at least to me, I'm not inside the building, that Shane was the most upset about, that he mentioned on his halftime radio hit, on his post game, on the teleconference, that the 2-minute offense right now is just not close to where it needs to be execution-wise. You saw, again, a fumble in the last drive of the first half against Akron. He says, I think that his quote was they just keep making the same mistakes over and over at the end of halves, and he said he was really disappointed in that. So I think that's probably the 2 things, that you're pass blocking right now, and it's the fact that you've had the ball to end the first half in all 4 games. You haven't gotten points on any of those 4 drives.
Definitely discouraging, but one thing that could help is kind of an emergence of an extra wide receiver to help out, and Gage Larvidan had his first targets of the season, both of them on passes that traveled more than 20 yards in the air. He caught both of them, and one I would consider a mossing of an Akron receiver on a jump ball, but if he's fully healthy, what do you think he can actually bring to this offense to maybe take the passing game to another level?
I think it's more of the field stretching type that you want, right? You weren't sure who those guys were going to be. Guys who were, I don't know if possession receivers necessarily the right term, because you don't necessarily think some of the guys going to go get a lot of jump balls, but he is good on his feet. He is good in the air, as you saw last week. So I think it's just a guy that can go up and get a deep ball when you don't have a lot of those right now. And if I had to guess, that's more what you're looking at, where maybe, I know he's caught a couple deep balls, but Mazeo Bennett maybe isn't going to run 50 yards down the field and catch a deep ball right now. And Jared Brown's not healthy right now, and that probably was your biggest deep ball threat when he was healthy. So I think Larvidan kind of helps fill that void a little bit, at least till Jared Brown's ready to roll again.
We were in a poll yesterday here at the station. It ended a little while ago, and it asked, what Carolina fans thought the final record would be, Alan. And was it 40% at 7-5, Elijah, give or take?
Yeah, a smidge over 40%.
Yeah, that's asking this team to go 4-4 the rest of the way. To me, that feels incredibly reasonable, and I could make a case that I feel like you can have a real opportunity to go 5-3. I know you're not asking guys on the team what they think of something like this, but you cover them. 7-5, 8-4. Either of those feel unrealistic, unreasonable to you?
No, certainly not. I think it's unfortunate the way the schedule breaks, that the only 2 games that I think you're going to be a clear, probably 3-score underdog in are both coming out of this first bye against Ole Miss and Alabama. And you might just take some lumps the next 2 weeks. But after that, Oklahoma's offense looks broken right now, just benched a quarterback. A&M has looked shaky all year. You get them at your place. Vanderbilt obviously expect to win that game. We don't really know how good Missouri is yet. They haven't had to play on the road, and they've struggled at home twice now. Wofford, obviously. And really, I don't think anybody would say the Clemson game's unwinnable. So obviously you're probably not going to win all 6 of those to end the year. But I think you're probably realistically looking at this, you lose the next 2 weeks probably. You're 3-3 at the halfway point, and you're talking about a 4-2 finish. That's absolutely on the table.
Yeah, and in terms of the defense too, I think one of the reasons why you're going to be in every one of these games is because your pass rush is so good. And I saw a stat today, because I love the stat of stop rate. And Max Olson tweeted it out, and South Carolina is top 25 in the country in stop rate. And you look at the other teams on that list, they haven't played the schedule that South Carolina has so far in terms of playing multiple SEC games. How much of that do you think is sustainable for South Carolina to be able to have a defense that even once you do start playing the likes of Ole Miss, Missouri, and I don't even put A&M in there, because at their best A&M can move a little bit, but so how much of that would you say is sustainable to keep them in those games?
I think it is, because you go back to what you saw in the LSU game, right? I know people, maybe the sack number or the TFL number wasn't where you wanted it or expected against Akron, but Akron was very clearly just getting the ball out in 1-2 seconds. They weren't moving the ball. You were still affecting them. And then I said it when I was on you guys' show that week, but I think LSU is the best offensive line you're going to face all year. They still haven't given up a sack to anybody besides South Carolina in 4 games, and you got 2 of them. You got 6 TFLs in that game. Maybe not overwhelming dominance like what you saw against Kentucky. That I don't think you're going to average, 12 tackles for loss a game. But, yeah, I kind of take the theory that if you can work against LSU's offensive line and find some space there, you can do it against pretty much anyone else's on your schedule.
Alan, good stuff as always, man. Appreciate you. Enjoy the off week, and we'll do it again here real soon. All right, that's our
Appreciate
buddy.
it.
You bet. Alan Cole, GamecockScoop.com, rival site covering Carolina. Follow Alan on Twitter if you don't already. Alan __. Make sure you put 2 of them. Cole. It's that easy. Postgame show coming right back. It is time. We did caller 3 yesterday. We're going to do caller 4 today. Caller 4. All right, just add 1.
That's right.
Makes it math really easy.
It does.
So,
and I'm
luck.
not very good at math. So
Carolina Ole Miss tickets, by the way. If you're wondering, which tickets? It's Carolina Ole Miss next week. Thanks to Alan Cole for joining us. No injury update, Alan told us from Shane Beamer today during the SEC coaches teleconference. You don't have to reveal those things and probably don't want to at this point. Well, I don't know. I'll be careful here. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. If things were great, you're probably like, oh yeah. No, they're fine. So they're probably not exactly they being primarily Lenora Sellers and Raheem Sanders and Jared Brown, not back to exactly where they'd like them to be, which is fine. I think as long as these guys can get on the practice field by Tuesday, so you still got a week, then they'll be ready to go. They know what they're doing. I said this earlier on Monday, actually. You wanted to see Lenora Sellers on Saturday, just be able to work. Again, the buzzwords I've been using, cohesion and confidence, cohesion and confidence, cohesion and confidence. And when you have games like that one against Akron where you have an overmatched opponent and you should do what Carolina ultimately did, you'd like to get more time. But it gave Robbie some time, and you did get a lot of guys. Again, I think 12 guys caught balls. That's good. Attaway scored a couple of touchdowns. He feels good. The play to Bennett was great. I thought the single best play of the game, in my opinion. Others may disagree, but that's fine. Howell scored a touchdown. Again, the Davis Bevel moment was cool to Cox for the score there late. Defense was fantastic. One just, I don't even want to call it a busted play, just one mistimed play allowed the Zips to score. Other than that, you did fine. Defense continues to lead this team. If by, and I can't remember if Shane has a Sunday teleconference scheduled after an off week or not. I don't think he does, but don't quote me on that. So our next opportunity to get any real info, I think Alan touched on this, is probably next Tuesday at Shane's 1:00 press conference. And even then, he wouldn't have to necessarily. Now, he'll be asked and he'll have to say something, but it won't be until Wednesday night that we get anything official.
Yes.
Because that's when the mandated availability report has to be released. So we'll see.
Yeah,
but
don't you dare call it an injury report.
No,
Sounds too much like the NFL.
Well, and
it's not a 2-minute warning either.
I know. If I may, I was getting ready. I'm glad you went there.
That's so dumb.
Why are we doing that? Like, why? It's like college football is trying to be that contrarian in your life that probably doesn't even really feel that way half the time, but just does it because they can.
Here to argue.
The 2-minute warning is as much a part of the sports vernacular in the United States as anything else. 3-point shot, right? Things.
Hitting a double.
It would almost be like if college added the 3-point line after the pros. It's the 3-point attempt, not the 3-point shot.
You made a 3-point attempt. Don't you dare call it a 3-pointer.
Yeah, don't call it a shot. Or whatever. No, we're going to call it the 2-minute warning, college people. So stop with the 2-minute timeout. Just stop. Literally, I'm being nice to you. Stop.
Or it's like, Post-its, like off-brand Post-it notes. I'm going to call it a Post-it note.
Or Kleenex,
Do not
or
correct.
Band-Aid.
Yeah, I'm going to call it that. Do not correct me, because that is correct. That is in itself.
Nobody goes
correct.
around saying bandage. Nobody says, could you please hand me a tissue so it may blow my nose? No, it's a Kleenex.
That's right.
And I get it. Kleenex, they control the market. I don't know.
Sorry, this is off-brand. This is not a Kleenex.
Yeah, I don't know. Even the name brands, I don't know where Puffs rolls in.
Hey, can you pass me a Puffs?
Yeah. Nobody says that.
Sounds like me in college.
So, Anyway, 2-minute warning. It's a football term. It's like saying that a touchdown isn't a touchdown. No. That's a 6-point score. That's a
6-pointer.
That's what college would do.
No, that's a 6-pointer, sir. A 3-pointer is a field goal.
We're going to come back around to the UNLV NIL story. And Elijah, a couple of you have hit us on the text line, but one dude, Rodney, if you're listening, I got some pushback coming your way from what you hit us with on the text line. That and more as the postgame show continues.
Only a few more days. It's the 25th of September right now, and the 30th of September is when the offer for Columbia Secrets for weight loss is buy one, get one deal will expire. Only 5 more days, so you got to hop on because that deadline's coming fast. Columbia Secret for Weight Loss has helped so many people here in the Midlands, just like myself, for over the past year now, achieve their weight loss goals, and doing so with great coaching. Shout out Paul Grant and Shaylin over at Columbia Secret for Weight Loss. And they also do all this without any shots or pills and helps you get some sustainable, healthy habits to continue to keep that weight off in the future once you do achieve your goal. But now, for the next 5 days, you can do this with a friend or a family member with the price of one. And that sounds good to you because it sounded good to me. Give them a call, 803-824-4210. Again, that's 803-824-4210 or ColumbiaSecretForWeightLoss.com. Results may vary.
4 o'clock on this Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back into the postgame show. Along with Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips. We are broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevy Studios in downtown Columbia. Wherever you might be, thank you for choosing to be with us. Big story continues to develop out in Vegas at UNLV as their starting quarterback, Matthew Sluka, last night, after a 3-0 start and him playing well, decided to stop playing to maintain his final year of collegiate eligibility and basically redshirt. There is brand new information. Just in the last half hour, the following statement was released, not from the school or from the football program, but from Friends of UNLV. That is their NIL collective. In fact, it's actually officially called the UNILV.
There's so many letters.
Yes. But anyway.
Oh, my God.
It's clever with the NIL in between the UN. I get it.
But
Here's the statement. We want to address the recent developments surrounding Matthew Sluka and his decision to redshirt for the remainder of the year. To clarify, there were no formal NIL offers made during Mr. Sluka's recruitment process. Additionally, Friends of UNILV did not finalize or agree to any NIL offers while he was part of the team, aside from a completed community engagement event over the summer. At Blueprint Sports and Friends of UNILV, we take our commitments very seriously. We would like to emphasize that we have upheld all Friends of UNILV contracts this season and have not defaulted on any agreements with Mr. Sluka. Our commitment to supporting Rebel student-athletes remains unwavering, and we are dedicated to maintaining the integrity of our programs. We wish Mr. Sluka all the best in his future endeavors. Thank you for your understanding. To recap, if you're just tuning in and have not heard this story today, this young man announced this on Twitter last night, and I'll read you his statement again in just a minute. But he, his father, and agent all claim that while he was in the portal after completing his final season at Holy Cross last year and had entered the portal in January, they claim that an assistant coach, the offensive coordinator at UNLV, offered him $100,000 in NIL money to be UNLV running Rebel. Says he had offers, or at least had conversations and potential offers from schools in the Power Four as well. Didn't name which ones. But I looked him up. I mean, again, this is a good football player. He's not going to be, I could see this. This is the kind of guy who, if he were to get drafted, he turns into like an Adam Thielen type or something. He's not going to be a quarterback, but I could see him being an athlete at the next level in some capacity, slot receiver type, something like that. If you will, and I'm not projecting this upon him other than to give an example, like a poor man's Christian McCaffrey or something.
Julian Edelman.
There you go. Somebody like that.
Who also played quarterback in college.
Yeah, I could see that for this kid. But that's beside the point right now. The offensive coordinator is Brennan Marion. And again, if the name of the head coach, Barry Odom, is very familiar. Again, he was head coach at Missouri. He was DC at Arkansas for a bit. He's been around. So he knows big-time football. And he says that, no. He according to the story that the agent and the father are telling, Coach Odom said to him, back in the offseason, hey, the offer didn't come from me, therefore I don't know what to tell you. And their pushback was, well, your OC was recruiting our guy here. And he said it, so what's the deal? And they also claim, do the Slukas and their agent, that they've had conversations with others who said, well, you need to wait till you get enrolled, wait till you get to the season. We'll do it game by game. And he had been told even once the season started, no, we're getting this done. It's just taking some time. It sounds a lot like the Rashada case at Florida, but different. Because, again, the Rashada case at Florida, that's just – the reason that's so nightmarish is because it's just a stupid sum of money that again, $13 million. So this kid again, depending on one's point of view, this kid left the team last night to protect his own eligibility, or you may believe that this kid is just a quitter and let his team down. And there could be third and fourth options as to how to label this, or all could be true. And that may be the one. I personally cannot buy into the notion if their story is true, and I'm leaning that way. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I'm leaning that way right now based on all I've read this morning and this afternoon. This doesn't happen in a vacuum. And what I mean is they're 3-0. They're ranked for the first time in a couple of generations at UNLV. There's a lot of folks that are looking at what they're doing and how they've done it and projecting them into the college football playoff as the group of 5 representative as a Mountain West champion. Now, you got a lot of football left to play, and they have not yet played a conference game. So I don't know. Boise's in their league. Fresno's in their league. Air Force is in their league. There's some good football played out that way. I don't know who's going to do what yet. But this kid's having a solid season. And if you know those things and you want an opportunity at the next level, you are not in a cowardly way, for those who are portraying it that way, quitting, if you will, on your football team right now. Because you're also quitting, at least for a time, or pausing, if I may say it better, Elijah, your own opportunities. So you're doing this to look out for you because you believe it's what is best for you right now, but it's only because of the money part. And so then others are saying, well, then just you gotta wait and the money will come later. He feels jilted.
And he clearly doesn't trust them.
Right.
To give him that money.
Right. And they're saying, well, that's not what it was. Well, then, I mean, hey, Barry Odom, and forgive my bluntness here, audience, what the hell are you doing over there?
Because it's not nothing.
Yeah, this is something, and this is big. This is not, again, the Jaden Rashada at Florida case used to be the one that was at the top of the list for the horror story. This has now turned the Jaden Rashada case into like a G-rated Disney movie relative to a horror movie. This is now the horror movie until further notice. And God forbid that if something worse than this happens, it can only be that you're even deeper into a season and a guy just says, all right, you know what? I'm out. And screw my own eligibility. I'm just doing it. I am purely doing it for spite. Y'all screwed me. I'm out. This kid at least is protecting himself for next season and any potential opportunities that might come from the next level. And I've seen some people already saying today, Elijah, why would any other school trust this kid? Don't lie to him.
Yeah, certainly.
Because he feels lied to. Read the text. I know you got to clean it up.
Yes.
And then I want to, and if there's others, we'll get to them. But I said I was going to do this, so I'm not trying to I'm going to disagree with this guy. I'm just going to let y'all know. But go ahead and read it.
Yeah, and side note, I think a young man leaving Las Vegas whenever he knew he wasn't going to be leaving with the money he thought he was when he went to Vegas might be the most responsible part of this entire story, if you think about it.
Well said, sir.
But we did get a text from Rodney. Rodney said, "Are all y'all who were applauding NIL and openly paying players enjoy this bleep show? It's only going to get worse."
How, Rodney? Follow up with how it's only going to get worse and how the NCAA getting trounced in court and opening these doors is going to get worse. This is the fault. I'm not even going to try to go down this road again. But this is what don't hand me any NCAA lines, Rodney, and say, well, this is what you get. This is what you wanted. You wanted NIL and openly paying players. Rodney, do you want to go back to under the table? And if you say yes, so that more schools can get caught in the web of NCAA infractions cases, is that what you want? Really? Those of you who were saying things like Rodney, well, I just want to go back to the old ways. Why? Look at what has happened because of the old ways. You were all living in a fantasy world that never actually existed. Why do you think so many schools got popped on a routine basis because they're all doing it. Everybody's doing it. Why would you want it to continue to be illicit? That makes zero sense. I mean, you got your ass kicked in court. The Supreme Court of the United States of America looked at you and said, oh my God, if you were any other business, your leaders would be in jail. Mm-hmm. And we're giving you a pass, but you better go fix it. I mean, I paraphrase, but that's basically what they told him a couple of years ago. You would be in jail if you were running an actual business relative to hiding behind the curtain of a not-for-profit organization. I don't understand how somebody can say, well, I wish we'd go back to the old way. Dude.
Well, the old way is illegal.
The old way, yes, it's illegal. This is the United States of America, and it is illegal. What don't we understand about that, Rodney, or anyone that thinks the way you do? What does illegal mean to you, man?
This is the funniest thing about this, too, because he is kind of attributing, based off from what I'm reading in this text, he is attributing the issue to paying players. It's not, because the problem here is that he wasn't getting paid. That's to me, that's the funniest part about it. He's leaving because he's not getting the money he was promised. And if any of us were to show up to work with a promise from our bosses that we were going to get $100,000 to do the work, we start doing the work, and they're like, $3,000 is the best we can do. You know what? I wouldn't blame you for leaving.
Yeah, I'm giving you 3% of what I promised you.
That's not what we agreed to.
3% like every day, and we'll do it incrementally? No. I'm giving 3%. You 3%.
That's it.
I'm out.
Yeah. And that's the whole point here, too. It's not the real gripe, I think, that people should have in terms of the party we should all channel the anger to is the NCAA for not having a rule structure ahead of time for this. The reason that a school can get away with this, with what they did to this quarterback, Matthew Sluka, is that there's no punishment for it. Because there are no regulations in the NIL space, I can easily go, if I'm in a collective somewhere, I can easily say, we've got $50,000 for you to come to the school and play, and if that promise isn't followed, the worst case scenario is the player leaves. You don't get in trouble for it. There's no sanctions that are coming your way. There's really no, I guess, downside to lying to kids at high school or the ones that are in the transfer portal. There's no downside to it. And there has to be, right? And for kids, there has to be a downside to leaving, which is signing a contract, which all of these contracts can be collectively bargained. There's one solution for both aggrieved parties here, and we're just completely ignoring that as a structure, right? The NCAA has ignored that as a structure for a long time. The problem's not the kids. It's not all the kids. The problem's not all the schools. However, we are in a lawlessness that allows the bad actors within schools, within collectives, or the bad actors that are maybe agents of, or the ones who are representing these athletes, to be able to basically break moral codes with immunity. That's the real issue here. It's not kids these days. It's not all just manipulating schools, because some of these practices to get these kids on campus is incredibly manipulative. Very manipulative, especially if they're kids that maybe don't have a ton of adult guidance on themselves and they're 17, 18 years old. I know how I was at age 17, 18. If someone came up to me with illusions of grandeur, I'm all in, baby. You say I can go get $100K to play for you, I'm all in. Even if I'm not smart enough to know I need to get that on paper.
Well, I wish they had, and that is certainly part of this.
The agent was bad.
Yeah,
that's some bad agent work.
And you've got to be better. Although apparently the agent might have been brought in after the assistant coach made the verbal promise. Too bad you didn't record it with your phone,
because that's admissible evidence.
But again, I don't see this kid stopping now as a sign of cowardice. I don't look at it that way. We'll have more on the other side. All right, welcome back into the post-game show. Jay and Elijah with you. Y'all, this story is just, depending on one's point of view at least, getting better. Or if you're a UNLV fan, it's getting worse. I want to thank Roddy, who hit me on Twitter with this while we were just talking about quarterback Matthew Sluka's transfer out of UNLV.
Roddy White, former Falcons receiver?
No, looks like it's Roddy Hutto.
Okay.
But thank you, Roddy.
We'll accept both.
That's right. According to ESPN's Adam Rittenberg, and there is a tweet, now UNLV transfer tailback Michael Allen, who came into the school after 2 years at NC State, has decided to transfer out and maintain eligibility. And here's his tweet. After 3 games, I have decided to utilize my red shirt and enter the portal at the end of the season as a redshirt junior. I'm grateful for UNLV and wish them nothing but success. Expectations for opportunities, unfortunately, were not met, and I am excited to continue my football career. There's your quarterback. There's one of your running backs saying the exact same refrain. They told me one thing, and they're doing another, and the another that they're doing is not cool. Now, y'all can believe what you want to believe. I don't, and there's a lot of he said here. I understand that. This story's far from over. But within a 24-hour period, you get 2 transfers saying the same thing as to why they're pulling away from you when you're doing well. This is one of those, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck kind of stories.
We are at the quacks like a duck stage.
I think we are, man. Looks like a rat, smells like a rat. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Maybe we got a smoking rat right here. I don't know.
A rat ripping a pack of Marlboro Reds, baby.
It's a bad look for Barry Odom. It's a bad look for UNLV football. That means people are out there running their mouth. Because if this was an 0-3 team that was going nowhere, slow or fast, maybe there's a different set of circumstances. But again, you've got a team poised after 25% of the season to be amongst the best at their level and have a real opportunity to get into the college football playoffs, 12-team expanded field. Again, they may not. I don't know. Memphis is good. Boise is good. I don't know who's going to yet. I don't know. They'll play Boise later, right? They're in the Mountain West.
They are. Lost to them in the conference title game last year, I believe.
So, and we had somebody hit us and say, this is what you get when you have NIL. No, this is what you get when you have bad actors, man.
Mm-hmm. Which is the real problem. That's the problem with this whole thing.
Yeah, and I don't know how people are. I mean, I just can't. I'm sorry, but I cannot. And it's not about sports, or it's not about that I'm more supportive of an athlete than a school or anything like that. What I'm supportive of is doing the right thing. And I realize there's no contract. That is unfortunate. And, you're not taking this to court because I don't think you have any evidence to support you. It's really kind of like, again, I keep coming back to the Rashada case down at Florida with the $13 million promise. But, well, how you taking it to court? And Rashada tried to sue. Mm-hmm. And even at that point, Florida said, well, I mean, we're going to pay for, Billy to defend himself. But now you got 2 players, Barry Odom, head coach of UNLV, again, within about 18 to 20 hours of each other, pulling away from your team. If you want to call it quitting on the team, again, would any of you go to work even if your boss verbally or would you say, no, Jay, I would get it in writing? And if you'd say that as your answer, I fully understand and support you.
And it's smart on you not to do that.
This kid, but what if it's, look, this kid and his dad, this kid was being pretty heavily recruited, as I read this morning.
Mm-hmm. Highly coveted.
And took the word of this coach at UNLV, the offensive coordinator. Let me go back and find his name because I forgot what it was. Do you remember what it was?
Oh, the coordinator?
Brennan Marion. Brennan Marion, according to this quarterback, Matthew Sluka, promised him $100,000. Okay. Should have gotten it in writing. Agreed.
So your agent should be there for.
Didn't.
Now, apparently this agent also wasn't licensed in the state of Nevada, and that also has provided some other real legal barriers.
UNLV has come out with a statement now. This is updated. UNLV Athletics interpreted these demands as a according to the $100,000, like we want our $100,000. UNLV Athletics interpreted these demands as a violation of the NCAA pay-for-play rules, as well as Nevada state law. UNLV does not engage in such activity, nor does it respond to implied threats. UNLV has honored all previously agreed-upon scholarships for Matthew Sluka. UNLV has conducted its due diligence and will continue to operate its programs within the framework of NCAA rules and regulations, as well as Nevada state laws. Okay. I get that. And right now, again, the NCAA has a rule on the books that disallows pay for play. As soon as that one goes to court, it's going to lose. You can't. They've already basically told it you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the NCAA isn't really trying to enforce any of this stuff.
Because they can't.
They can't. And I find it ironic how many people in this country slam the NCAA. You know, it's a real pick and choose kind of. You know, I'm going to the golden corral right now of NCAA rules. I don't want the carrots. I'll just eat a lot more of the ribs.
And pizza looks good.
No, you gotta and you gotta follow. You know, somebody's going to tell you, well, you have to actually have some of everything on the buffet when you go through this particular one. You don't get to pick and choose which rules you like and which ones you don't. That's not how it works. It's great that UNLV hides behind NCAA rules. The problem here again is, did Brennan Marion offer this kid $100,000 in some form or fashion? And then ask yourself, why would this kid quit? Now, why would a second teammate quit over using the exact same language?
Be hard to make that up. Like, that's the thing. That's something that would be tough for someone just to make up, because they're losing out on what is a really special season, right? Like, that's
what I'm saying. These are good players that want to do well for the team. They're not cowards. They're not selfish. In fact, I feel like they stuck it out a little bit longer through the season with the hope that the guys that promised them something were going to make it good, and they still aren't. And they had to look out for themselves in terms of eligibility requirement, which, by the way, let me say again, is, you know what it is? An NCAA rule that they have to follow. I just do not see this as, they just quit on their team because they're greedy. Nah, I don't. If that's how you feel, cool. I do not.
I also just be really gypped feel really gypped if I was promised $100K and I got $3K and my youth was preyed upon, or my desire to play for you was preyed upon. Because that's basically what it is. I mean, what it sounds like, it's a manipulation tactic to get some kids to go to this school and play in this program without any coordination between collective and coaching staff. Because if the collective is denying this and the collective is saying that they have done legally everything that they've been, obligated to do, then there's probably a really good chance that Brennan Marion, the offensive coordinator for UNLV, was a rogue agent who said, hey, he knew what to tell him to get him to come to the school, right? And did so without clearing it with the collective, which is a big no-no for a lot of reasons. Most of all, the collective knows how much money you got and what you don't got, right? And that's where a lot of this can be misconstrued. And it almost feels like they got really late in the game. They're like, this money, we ain't got it.
Yeah. We'll keep you updated because this thing continues to unfold. Come back on the other side, though. Should the Carolina Panthers trade Bryce Young? What could they get for him? Remember what they gave up to get him. We'll mesh those together as best we can coming up.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to. They're causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon. We'll start with two big ones here locally. Got one on I-20 westbound after the Monticello Road exit 68. That accident has the right lane completely blocked. And in Lexington County, we have an accident that's got two right lanes completely blocked. That's over on I-26 eastbound over the I-20 exit 107B. Some more minor traffic backups as results of accidents are still out and about. One on Assembly Street near Calhoun Street, another on Buckner Road at Monticello Road, another one on Highway 1 at Augusta Road at O'Neill Court, and on I-77 northbound at the Two Notch Road exit 17.
We've been talking about what's going on at UNLV, where not one but two UNLV football players have basically intimated that NIL promises were not met, and both have decided to maintain another year of eligibility and transfer out of the program. UNLV ranked for the first time since the 1980s, I believe. 3-0 start.
1984, I believe, is their first time flirting with ranking.
I mean, 40 years, man. So again, these guys aren't quitting on a bad team and thinking, well, this is a terrible opportunity for me anyway. No, this is a good team. They're doing it because they feel jilted. Elijah says some of you on the text line agree and some of you do not. I don't know what you disagree with. I mean, again, how many of you, if you were promised something by someone you trust and you started doing a job only to have the promise go unfulfilled, would remain with hope as your number one source of income?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we treat college athletes differently in this country than any other faction of society? Well, it's the love of the game. They're just supposed to. Stop it. It's never been that way, y'all. It is for some, but not for star players. Again, why do you think there's a rule book that used to be as thick as the one for Manhattan? I mean, this is not hard. It really isn't. And you're listening to someone who is a lifelong, not just college sports fan, but like a devoted one. You know, and for a quarter century, I've been putting my money where my mouth is in a lot of ways, not just at my job. But I'm not naive.
Especially once you see how the sausage is made.
You know, I don't understand if what these kids are saying is true. And again, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Because they're providing at least
again,
a perspective.
UNLV is saying now that this kid's agent made financial demands in order to keep. They're basically trying to say they're extorting us. And that's unfortunate. I listen, I know enough about how these things work that I'm going to I believe until it can be proven otherwise, and for the sake of the discussion, I'm leaning again towards believing the kids and that they were promised money that has not been delivered by a coach who will do anything to get as many talented kids onto the roster as possible. And sometimes you do have rogue assistants who do not discuss these things with their boss. But I don't think that these kids would quit on what is an early success with the potential for continued success if they didn't feel jilted. And so I ask again, how many of you, how many of us, I know I wouldn't. If my boss upstairs said, hey, in words, but not in writing, but somebody that I've trusted through the process. No. You're gonna be making more, whatever, here's what we're gonna be doing for you. But we need you to start and kind of get it going. Come in, get enrolled, or in this case, start your job, get your feet wet for a bit, and then we're going to pay you. Now, again, you might say, well, they should have gotten it right. Again, I get that part.
That's the agent's job.
Yeah.
In all honesty, if you hire an agent, it's their job.
And did he hire
to
the
do
agent
that.
after the fact? It sounds like maybe the agent came in, again, after the recruitment process.
Which also, if that's the case, not the smartest move on their part.
But this is a kid, I mean, Brett McMurphy just tweeted something out that I thought was pretty funny. And I think he's being mostly serious with a little tongue-in-cheek. But he said this would never happen in the Southeastern Conference because the SEC bagmen always deliver.
Even on Sundays.
So take that as you will. That's how I'll leave that. There's going to be more on this coming soon. So we'll see where it goes. But it's a bad. I mean, now that you've got two again inside of 24 hours, it's a bad look for Barry Odom. Bad look. You want to get to some more of these, or you want to? I'm fine.
Oh, see, let me pull it back up.
I mean, we can do the Bryce Young thing, or I can hold off on the Bryce Young thing. I want to give people their opportunity to say things.
For
So
sure.
that's
Trey
fine.
texted and said the kid and the dad are kind of at fault for walking on campus without getting paid first. And then there's another one too says, doubt most NIL deals in Power 4, especially SEC and Big Ten, will fall flat on them like UNLV. So two different perspectives on the.
What Trey said is
their
right,
dad.
but I think
Yeah.
it's only part of the story.
And part of the story is that you're not getting things in writing because nothing's collectively bargained. There's no rule against it. Yeah, a lot of the deals that are being made, I'm really curious to know how much of these deals are verbally agreed upon first and not signed until kids get to campus. I have a hard time believing this would be the only one.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah.
Right? But the difference is sometimes most of those other promises are made. You know how we know they're made? Because we don't know about them.
Right.
Because they follow through.
Right.
We know about this because they didn't follow
They didn't follow through.
Yeah.
Amen. And that's what's happening here. They didn't follow through. Barry Odom's trying to build a team that can get into the playoff. Barry Odom has been a part of big-time football programs, including multiple stops in the Southeastern Conference. He does know how the sausage is made, if you will, to your point you made earlier. Now, does he send a rogue coach out and say, do what you got to do? I don't know. And Barry's not going to admit to that.
No, nor should he. Because it's bad luck. Because then no one's going to want to play for you.
Yeah. Or they're going to be sniffing around your door. They, the enforcement staff.
To enforce whatever they can.
Yeah. Because they still want to bust you when they can. I mean, that's what they're getting paid for.
Professional tattletales.
That's what they're doing, man. So, yeah, I don't know. But this is not the fault of kids looking to get theirs. And that's what I think bothers me the most from fans across the country. Greedy, coward. Saw one guy on Twitter saying he's a brat. Again,
Yeah, I'm not jumping to that conclusion.
if it's you, are you doing it? And I don't want to hear the part again about, well, you should have gotten it ready. I agree with that. I know that. They didn't. But you still had faith in the person you were working with, that they were going to treat you right because they told you they were going to treat you right. And should we just never take anybody anywhere ever again at their word at all? Then what are we doing as a society? And I don't mean to sound all philosophical with this, but that is, I think, a valid concern to have here. I trusted you, coach, and you jilted me.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was on purpose or not is irrelevant.
The fact of the matter is, it's still.
Yeah, it happened. You jilted me. You know, I mean, I don't know if this is the right analogy to make or not, but, you know, you're going out with somebody. You trust them. Maybe you've even put a ring on the finger, and they go do something that they're not supposed to do. You trusted them. Now, you might say, well, if you got married, you put it in writing. All right, well, then you got a case, don't you? But what if it's just a girl you're dating or a guy you're dating? And they go out and do whatever they're going to do with somebody else. You trusted them.
It's still a violation of trust.
Yeah.
Which your word is supposed to mean something. I get that. I absolutely get that.
I think that's perfectly fair to look at these kids and sympathize.
Mm-hmm. Especially, this definitely would seem to be the case that this is what happened, because I just have a hard time believing why you would leave for anything else, right?
Again, if they were 0-3 and getting beat 75-0 every game,
Then this would be a convenient excuse
It's an excuse,
to bail out.
exactly.
Yeah, it'd be a convenient excuse.
and I would label it with an excuse.
And that's what makes the story so jarring is that this
is a
school
ranked
doing
football
something,
team.
It's doing something they haven't done since Randall Cunningham was there, right? Like this is the type of history they've been making at this school. Things are going really well. But if the promise of like $100,000 is being getting shorted by 97,000, that's a big gap, and it might be different. I would roll my eyes if it's like, oh, he got 99,000 of it, and he's mad he did not get that 1,000 extra.
Yeah,
that's come on, dude. Then you can kind of be like, come on, but 97,000,
you get 3%.
Pretty, that's a pretty steep.
Yeah, if somebody promises you something and then gives you 3% of it, you're going to keep going. You're going to keep giving your 100%.
No,
effort wise. With the hope that it comes around?
Despite not having any evidence that it will now.
Yeah. I don't see how that works. All right, like I said, we'll keep you updated. We'll come back around with the Bryce Young talk. Might the Panthers trade him? We'll see. Post-game show coming up. All right, good luck. Caller 5 this time.
Yeah,
We've done
surprise.
3, we've done 4, now it's 5. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay and Elijah, pair of tickets to go see Carolina Ole Miss next weekend at Williams-Brice. Again, we'll come back around to the UNLV story as the situation dictates, but quite honestly, I need to catch my breath. It's not the kids, y'all. It's not the kids. Okay? It's not the kids. Had a lot of adults for a couple of decades. Had plenty of chances to fix this. If they wanted to. They decided not to. And then the courts decided to torch them. All right, moving on. Andy Dalton looked good last week. Bryce Young has not looked good so far in his career. Now our buddy Joe Person of The Athletic, who has touched on this with a few of his fellow athletic beat writers around the NFL, looking into the possibility of whether or not the Carolina Panthers want to trade Bryce Young. So far, Dave Canales, in whatever capacity he has to speak on this, says the Panthers are not, at this point, considering a trade of Bryce Young. Dave Canales is a rookie head coach who is virtually powerless when it comes to the whims of his owner, David Tepper. Joe did reach out to beat writers of the Raiders, of the Dolphins, and the Titans to see what they might do because they could potentially use some quarterbacks. Now, to me, even before I read this, I thought the Dolphins made some sense. And I mentioned to Elijah, you've got Tua Tagovailoa coming out of the Alabama system. You've got Bryce Young coming out of the Alabama system. Both are undersized relative to a lot of NFL quarterbacks. And I think Mike McDaniel is the kind of coach that has proven now, at least for Tua, to be able to get in between his ears and calm him down. And not only calm him down, but have 2 really productive seasons in a row, get Miami into the playoffs after the Brian Flores staff had basically just beaten Tua up mentally, in addition to the physical beating that he's been taking. That makes a lot of sense to me. But remember, the Carolina Panthers, David Tepper, okayed a deal that allowed the Carolina Panthers to work with the Chicago Bears and send 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and DJ Moore to Chicago for the right to have the number 1 pick in the draft in the spring of 2023. Now, I do think that the Panthers did they get like a 5th as what they got
some type of compensatory.
Yeah, just something for, quote, balance. But still, you gave up 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and your best wide receiver. The consensus here, from what Joe has pointed out and learned from those beat writers in Nashville, Vegas, and Miami, is that you could, at best, the Dolphins and Raiders, apparently these guys say, if they were going to do it, would likely be okay with giving up a 4th-round pick. The Titans, this one's interesting. The Titans would apparently trade for Bryce Young by using Will Levis, but then also getting a 5th-round pick next spring from Carolina. Now, again, these are opinions of beat writers based on some conversations they've had. Have they spoken with GMs or personnel directors? I don't know. And a lot of these, these things are done behind the scenes. Joe reports that it's kind of whispers, and again, nothing official, that the Panthers, at bare minimum, if they wanted to trade him, which they seemingly at this point do not, would like at a 2nd-round pick at best. You'd probably like more, but you ain't getting it.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Think about that. You're getting like 20% of what you gave up to trade. And nobody's going to do that. And that's what you did to this kid. I really hope he makes it. I don't know if it'll be in Charlotte or not. I don't see this as a playoff team.
Absolutely
and you just lost Adam Thielen for a little bit. Not that he's going to light the world on fire, but he's a veteran presence for you on that offense that still struggled. And again, Let's see how they do against better teams. I think they've got Cincy this weekend, right?
Yeah.
And the
They
Bengals
do,
now have to play like angry. I mean, that's an AFC title contender that's 0-3. Slip to 0-4, and you know what? At that point, Joe Burrow, you might need to pull a Matthew Sluka and just take the rest of the season off.
At that point, you slowly turn into Andy Dalton yourself. He will be facing off against future him if he loses that game.
Michael hit us, by the way, on the text line, said maybe the person with the $100,000 got lost on the strip in Vegas. Maybe. Headlines coming up.
Possible. From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon. We'll start in Richland County. We have an accident on Columbiana Drive at Columbiana Circle. It's caused a minor traffic backup, as well as one on Highway 6 near US 76 and Dutch Fork Road. One more accident that's actively causing a backup is on 20 westbound. That's over at the Monticello Road exit 68. We do have one accident that has since been cleared, and that is going to be on 26 East over at the I-20 exit 107B.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Wednesday. Welcome back in. It's also the final hour of the postgame show. He's Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. We start over in Atlanta where the Braves beat the New York Mets last night by a final score of 5-1. Spencer Schwellenbach got the win. He goes to 8-7 on the season. Center fielder Michael Harris, now fully recovered from a long injury, had 3 hits, including a solo shot and an RBI double. In fact, had a single as well, missed the cycle because he didn't hit a triple. Come on, man. But he said, quote, "It felt good to come out swinging and get some runs early. That's what we did tonight. Pitching was phenomenal from Schwellenbach. We just have to come out and do the same the next 2 days." Marcell Ozuna also hit a home run last night. The Braves trimmed the Mets' lead over them to just 1 in the chase for the final wild card spot. They are still scheduled to play tonight at 7:20. Hurricane Helene, of course, is making its way up into Georgia over the next couple of days. Tomorrow and Friday could be dicey. They'll close the series out with the Mets tomorrow. At least they're scheduled to. And then they open a final series of the season against the Kansas City Royals, who are also seemingly headed into the playoffs. Last night, did you see, by the way, Elijah, did you see the triple play?
Yes. It was incredible.
So last night, the Padres were up on the Dodgers, bottom of the ninth, and Dodgers had 2 on, nobody out. Runners at first and second, obviously. 2 on, nobody out. So
Shohei on deck, too, I believe.
Yeah, Shohei coming up. So winning run in the on-deck circle. And grounder to third, and a 5-4-3 triple play to end the game and secure San Diego's place in the playoffs. They'll be the number 1 wild card team, and they're playing some pretty good baseball right here. That's their 91st win. They're good.
They're really good.
They're good.
I didn't think anyone would really contest with LA in that division this year.
The Braves right now are a half game back of the Mets and Diamondbacks. So there's that to contend with here in the next couple of days. But again, also the weather. But the Braves and Mets scheduled for tonight at 7:20. David Peterson on the hill for New York. The lefty is 9-3 with the 3.08. And Chris Sale, of course, is having what most believe will be a Cy Young season for Atlanta. He is 18-3 with a 2.38. Braves minus 180 on the money line and about a 60% chance to win it, according to the ESPN computers. You win it, and then you've really done your job this week so far. But I don't like. Look, you should have. I said to you yesterday, you should have swept Miami, and you didn't. You took 2 of 3 on the road, whatever. But again, they're not. They wouldn't be the best AAA team right now. The Marlins I'm talking about. But you've got Sale tonight, and you're scheduled to have Max Fried tomorrow. You can't ask for better.
Nope.
In terms of facing the Mets. Now, again, the Royals are good and could be fighting for a few things too. So we shall see. But at this point in time, the Braves in good shape tonight. But again, it's going to be tight. Going to be tight. And I just hope they get all these games in. Doesn't look like they're going to, though. There's going to probably be some weather-related stuff in the coming days. Staying with baseball, this is interesting. Shohei Ohtani's 50-50 home run ball has been consigned to a collectibles group called Golden, and an auction will begin on Friday for this baseball. He is the only player in history to hit 50 home runs and steal 50 bases in a season. Says Ken Golden, who owns the company, this was one of the easiest consignments ever. He said Ohtani hits 50 on Thursday. Literally Friday, we heard from the guy. He contacted Golden on his own through social media, flew a security guard down to Miami on Monday with a representative from Golden, met him, flew back on Monday. The consigner is choosing to remain anonymous, though they says there are pictures of him online. I mean, this is somebody who got a ball at a game, right?
Acting like he's going into witness protection.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Good Lord.
Fox Sports' Andy Slater said the Dodgers originally offered the fan $300,000, but the Dodgers could not be reached for comment. There's a UNLV Matthew Sluka joke in here somewhere that I want to make, but I'm not going to.
Still fresh.
I know. Golden confirmed, quote, there was an offer by the Dodgers, and he turned it down. The opening bid is $500,000. Prospective buyers, quote, will have a chance to purchase the baseball outright for $4.5 million exclusively between September 27 to October 9. If bidding reaches $3 million prior to October 9, the option to purchase privately will no longer be available, and interested parties must compete and bid for the baseball. It is a literal once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This has never been done before. I don't know. I mean, you just slap a value and you see what happens. Again, something is worth what someone's willing to pay. Is it worth $4.5 million? I don't know.
What do you got?
Yeah. No, I'm asking how much it costs, and I'm asking you
How much you got?
You think it hits $4.5 million?
Certainly. Anything Shohei Ohtani related is going to end up spiking in price.
This feel
is one of those instances.
I agree. Between enough Dodger fans that are wealthy and how many, like Japanese businessmen or something that just, might come after. I mean, I don't know. You get some higher level executives of some of the. Some of these Japanese companies are just swimming in cash, and they may want a piece of that. Like that's real. I mean, I'm serious. I'm not trying to. I'm saying that like complimentary. Like this is Japanese history too, not just baseball history. I mean that no one on the planet has ever done this, and it is a Japanese player.
Baseball crazy market
is pretty cool. So, does somebody in Japan want this?
Yeah.
Heck, does the Japanese government want that? Like, I don't know. I'm just
put it in a museum somewhere. Yeah. I mean, why not?
I mean,
that's their country's history.
Right. I mean, that's pretty cool, man. That'd be, I don't know. This is if like Christian Pulisic went and did something that's never been done in soccer.
Broke a Premier League scoring record or whatever. I mean, we'd keep I would hope the United States brings that ball home.
Yeah, find a way, right?
If I'm Japanese, I hope you bring that Shohei Ohtani baseball home.
So we'll see how that one comes out. But again, if you've got the scratch and you want it, it could be yours for $4.5. I got a feeling that somebody does that, man.
Easily, yeah.
I got a feeling somebody ponies up the 4.5. Even if it's, because that's what it becomes worth.
Whatever.
At least if somebody paid for it. I don't know how you slap a label on worth. So we'll see. But, good luck to that guy. Yeah, $300,000. Come on, Dodgers.
No, that's soft.
Yeah, it's worth more than that.
And we know you got the money. We've seen your payroll.
Yeah.
We've seen what you have paid lesser players. I know what you paid old Carl Crawford, buddy.
If you're wondering, and you probably are, the current record paid for a baseball is $3.05 million. That was Mark McGwire's 70th home run ball. And that was I guess it was bought in 1999. Todd McFarlane, who is the creator of what was the big comic that he created? He was a big comic book guy. I can't remember now which one it was, but
I ain't got that one.
He told The Athletic that he also owns Barry Bonds' 73rd from the 2001 season and Sammy Sosa's 66th, also from 1999. But the most expensive, so that's $3 million paid in 1999. So you're probably thinking that's more like $4 million today.
Inflation, yeah. I would say so.
Maybe that's the neighborhood that this Golden Group is using to slap a number on Shohei's ball. And again, this has never been done before either. And remember now, there's a little bit of a tainted feeling, I think, around all three of those balls that, bless his heart, that Mr. McFarlane owns.
Which wouldn't... Okay, did I dream this, or did they actually send the Barry Bonds all-time home run baseball into space, or they blow it up? Like there's something crazy done to it, or was it the Bartman ball that they did that to?
I don't remember.
I'm having
that.
a bunch of different memories bleed together right here.
This just says he owns the Barry Bonds 73rd.
If you know
from
it, please text it in,
2001.
please. My brain is struggling.
I don't know if there's another home run from when Barry hit like the one to beat Hank and go to 756. I say beat Hank, but I say that very loosely because ick.
I love Tony on the text line. Does anyone have the 50th base he stole?
Technically, I think he's up to like
stole the
53 or
base.
54 now, right? But they should do. I remember when Ricky Henderson did that when he broke the
was
all-time
funny.
record. Yeah, and he pulled the base up, and that was pretty cool. That's the thing about the season that Shohei's having, by the way, is the
Incredible.
steals, man. I mean, and I think it was Tom Verducci said earlier this week. I heard an interview with him that like maybe Shohei is like the 150th fastest guy in baseball, but that he's so savvy with how he chooses to steal a base. He's so just.
He's a genius.
I remember,
he's a baseball genius.
I remember when Dale Murphy was a part of the 30-30 club, or like Canseco 40-40. Like these are big dudes. They were really smart about how they did it. Like Murph was not. You would never have said, "Oh, Dale Murphy's really fast." He was tall. He had a long stride, but he could steal a base. And Ohtani's the same way. I mean, he's not Ricky Henderson or Tim Raines or Willie McGee.
He ain't winning foot races against other people.
Yeah. Or even Whit Merrifield the other year, who had a lot of steals, who is fast. So, anyway, good
Stealing
stuff.
bases is an artwork.
That's it. We've done the UNLV thing. Once again, we've touched a lot on that, so I won't really treat that as a headline of the day. I don't mean to cheat you guys out of it, but if you haven't heard yet, now 2 UNLV football players. First is quarterback Matthew Sluka. Second is running back Michael Allen. Both in the last 24 hours have announced they are leaving the ranked Running Rebels football team, 3-0. First time they've been ranked in 40 years. Both saying that there were unfulfilled NIL promises. A statement from UNLV's NIL collective said, to clarify, there were no formal NIL offers made during Mr. Sluka's recruitment process. Lawyers write these things. I'll say this much, and to place the word formal into this statement is very telling and very intentional. You don't release these types of statements with words that are extraneous.
Or without a lot of proofreaders.
Yes. In this situation, I assure you that applying the word formal was quite intentional. They would not have put out a statement that said, to clarify, there were no NIL offers made. Which, again, this is a really bad look, in my opinion, for the University of Nevada at Las Vegas. Really bad look.
A terrible one. Yeah.
But we'll come back on the other side. What's the latest around Gamecock football? We talked with our buddy Alan Cole. We'll let you know what he had to say as the postgame show continues. That's our integrated media headlines of the day. 18 minutes after 5 o'clock on this Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Before we hear a little bit from our buddy Alan Cole, let's talk to Justin, who's been holding on. Want to talk a little Gamecocks and more. Hey, Justin, how you doing, bud?
How you doing, guys?
Good, man.
Hey, guys, I'm glad my Carolina Panthers won on Sunday. I'm so glad about that, too, but he needs to stay out of that business all the time. Let them do their thing, you do your own thing. And another thing, Jerry Jones, they're going to say for you, stay out of the Cowboys business and let the Cowboys do what they need to do. And have my Gamecocks win. Good win. Have a good day, guys.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Yeah,
nice.
Listen, if you could
You're right about Jerry Jones, brother.
If you could get meddlesome owners to stay out of the way, boy, would franchises be better. Again, we've talked about Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, being forced after the whole Brian Flores thing to step away by the NFL and say, listen, you can't have as much direct say anymore, and then suddenly the Dolphins start doing well. And Panther fans are like, man, I wish David Tepper would get busted for meddling. You meddling kids.
So many Panther fans are dying for that.
Jera, on the other hand, is his team's general manager, in addition to owner and spokesperson and
judge, jury, executioner.
Yeah, and a lot of things, man. I don't see Jera doing anything. If anything, he would step up his involvement, not step back. He's never going to own up to the fact that it was 90+% Jimmy Johnson. He's never gonna.
Too prideful.
He's just yeah.
If you ever get a chance to read the book "Boys Will Be Boys" by Jeff Pearlman, there is a really good. He documents the saga between Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson very well.
And for Tepper, it's just
Great book.
Again, I don't see. If anything, I see Tepper in sort of the same way without being the general manager of the team as well. But I guess I need to get more involved. No, you don't.
The opposite,
but you
is
will.
What's true?
Yeah. So we'll see. Thank you, Justin. All right, we talked to Alan Cole again. Today was the only opportunity for Gamecock fans and those of us in the media to hear from Coach Shane Beamer, part of the SEC Coaches Teleconference. Alan joined us earlier, and we asked him what he learned today from Shane.
Not a ton. It's just 10 minutes every week with, every SEC coach goes on there. He talked a little bit about special teams today. I thought it was interesting. He brought up kind of unprompted just that he wants to get the return game going a little bit more. That was maybe my biggest takeaway from the limited interaction we got that, he mentioned they haven't done enough in the kick or the punt return game. Talked a little bit about 2 bye weeks, how he just kind of feels like they're gonna do the same thing on both bye weeks that they've done kind of the last 3 years on byes. That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday practice, introducing Ole Miss this week, and then they're all going out on the road recruiting starting tomorrow, and players getting a little bit of a long weekend before you set up next week. But that was about it today.
All right, so no injury updates?
Not an injury update today. We got the last one Sunday on his local media teleconference, and it kind of echoed what he said Saturday after the game, that he thinks guys are going to be good to go, but of the 3 big ones right now, Rocket is still the most questionable for Ole Miss.
Interesting, yeah. And I guess in terms of, Lenoris' status, too, I mean, had the boot on the sideline, and there's 2 whole weeks basically to heal up and get ready for the Ole Miss game, but you'd like to have him practice a few days, at least before that. You don't want his first, action in football again to be in that game. But based off of kind of like what you're hearing or the kind of reading between the lines, what do you think the status of Lenoris is for the next game against Ole Miss? And if you had to put maybe a percentage number on it that we see him start.
Percentage is tough. I do think it's ticking in the right direction. I think you saw him on the sideline Saturday against Akron. He was moving around okay. He was not warming up, but he was still out there with the team during warm-ups, kind of moving around a little bit. It's hard to put a percentage on it right now, 10 days out, but I'm going to say 60%. I think it's more likely than not, but I don't think it's a lock. Mm-hmm. Just sitting here 10 days out, and we're going to get Beamer Tuesday and then an SEC mandated injury report 3 days leading up to the game. So long way to go there, but I think it's probably ticking in the right direction.
What are you hearing, Alan, about where this team feels like it needs to focus most of its energy when it comes to working on itself this week? Is it the areas that have been problematic, like procedural penalties? Is it trying to find ways to I don't know, narrow the scope of the depth chart at receiver? I don't know. I'm throwing a couple things at you, but I don't want to answer your question here. So where do you feel like they're most focused?
Yeah, I think there's two that have really jumped out just from kind of what Shane told us, and you kind of look at what's going on. One is offensive line and specifically pass protection. They've blocked pretty well in the running game the last 2 weeks, really better at the second half of Kentucky, too, going back to week 2. But giving up 16 sacks in 4 games, that's just not sustainable. You saw even Akron got some pressure pretty regularly in the passing game last week. So that's one. And then two, this might have been the thing, at least to me, I'm not inside the building, that Shane was the most upset about, that he mentioned on his halftime radio hit, on his post game, on the teleconference, that the 2-minute offense right now is just not close to where it needs to be execution-wise. You saw, again, a fumble in the last drive of the first half against Akron. He says, I think that his quote was they just keep making the same mistakes over and over at the end of halves, and he said he was really disappointed in that. So I think that's probably the two things, that you're pass blocking right now, and it's the fact that you've had the ball to end the first half in all 4 games. You haven't gotten points on any of those 4 drives.
Mm-hmm. Definitely discouraging. But one thing that could help is kind of an emergence of an extra wide receiver to help out. And Gage Larvidan had his first targets of the season, both of them on passes that traveled more than 20 yards in the air. He caught both of them. And one, I would consider a mossing of an Akron receiver on a jump ball. But if he's fully healthy, what do you think he can actually bring to this offense to maybe take the passing game to another level?
I think it's more of the field stretching type that you want, right? You weren't sure who those guys were going to be. Guys who were, I don't know if possession receivers necessarily the right term, because you don't necessarily think some of the guys going to go get a lot of jump balls, but he is good on his feet. He is good in the air, as you saw last week. So I think it's just a guy that can go up and get a deep ball when you don't have a lot of those right now. And if I had to guess, that's more what you're looking at, where maybe, I know he's caught a couple deep balls, but Mazeo Bennett maybe isn't going to run 50 yards down the field and catch a deep ball right now. And Jared Brown's not healthy right now, and that probably was your biggest deep ball threat when he was healthy. So I think Larvidan kind of helps fill that void a little bit, at least till Jared Brown's ready to roll again.
We were in a poll yesterday here at the station. It ended a little while ago, and it asked, what Carolina fans thought the final record would be, Alan. And was it 40% at 7-5, Elijah, give or take?
Yeah, a smidge over 40%.
Yeah, that's asking this team to go 4-4 the rest of the way. To me, that feels incredibly reasonable, and I could make a case that I feel like you can have a real opportunity to go 5-3. I know you're not asking guys on the team what they think of something like this, but you cover them. 7-5, 8-4. Either of those feel unrealistic, unreasonable to you?
No, certainly not. I think it's unfortunate the way the schedule breaks, that the only 2 games that I think you're going to be a clear, probably 3-score underdog in are both coming out of this first bye against Ole Miss and Alabama. And you might just take some lumps the next 2 weeks. But after that, Oklahoma's offense looks broken right now, just benched a quarterback. A&M has looked shaky all year. You get them at your place. Vanderbilt obviously expect to win that game. We don't really know how good Missouri is yet. They haven't had to play on the road, and they've struggled at home twice now. Wofford, obviously. And really, I don't think anybody would say the Clemson game's unwinnable. So obviously you're probably not going to win all 6 of those to end the year. But I think you're probably realistically looking at this, you lose the next 2 weeks probably. You're 3-3 at the halfway point, and you're talking about a 4-2 finish. That's absolutely on the table.
Yeah, and in terms of the defense too, I think one of the reasons why you're going to be in every one of these games is because your pass rush is so good. And I saw a stat today, because I love the stat of stop rate, and Max Olson tweeted it out. And South Carolina is top 25 in the country in stop rate. And you look at the other teams on that list, they haven't played the schedule that South Carolina has so far in terms of playing multiple SEC games. How much of that do you think is sustainable for South Carolina to be able to have a defense that even once you do start playing the likes of Ole Miss, Missouri, and I don't even put A&M in there, because at their best A&M can move a little bit, but so how much of that would you say is sustainable to keep them in those games?
I think it is, because you go back to what you saw in the LSU game, right? I know people, maybe the sack number or the TFL number wasn't where you wanted it or expected against Akron, but Akron was very clearly just getting the ball out in 1-2 seconds. They weren't moving the ball. You were still affecting them. And then I said it when I was on you guys' show that week, but I think LSU is the best offensive line you're going to face all year. They still haven't given up a sack to anybody besides South Carolina in 4 games, and you got 2 of them. You got 6 TFLs in that game. maybe not overwhelming dominance like what you saw against Kentucky. That I don't think you're going to average 12 tackles for loss a game. But yeah, I kind of take the theory that if you can work against LSU's offensive line and find some space there, you can do it against pretty much anyone else's on your schedule.
Good stuff from our buddy Alan Cole. Again, follow Alan on Twitter, Alan 2 underscores. So it's Alan __ Cole.
What's better than 1 underscore?
2.
That's correct. That's math, baby.
And GamecockScoop.com. I think Elijah will not only have traffic, we got a little bit of a weather update that we're going to give you coming up, too, and a drive around the SEC. I also have breaking news out of Atlanta when it comes to the Braves and Mets. All that coming up on the postgame show. First, let me tell you about our friends at Integrated Media. I have known these guys a long time. People do ask me, I've said this before, but like, Jay, who's that home theater company you talk about? I say Integrated Media. Do you just like talk about them or do you use them? I say, oh, no. I don't just talk about them. I live with what they have done for me, and I can't imagine my life without them. We got whole house, or we can change the rooms if my kids want to be in one room. Heck, the kids could be in like 2 different rooms. And I can be somewhere. And we can all do different things or all the same thing. Doesn't really matter. Outdoor system we have now, I absolutely love it. With just one call, they can do any of these things for you at Integrated Media. Dave will come out, walk around with you, see what's up. Check out their work on Facebook and Instagram, or think about some things you've seen at a buddy's house or a family member's or a sports bar. Then call 803-948-8327. Feel like you're there with Integrated Media.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. With a few accidents to get to, they're causing some issues on the roadway. But you know what? We're going to start off with some good news, and that's that the accident on 20 westbound at the Monticello Road exit 68, has been cleared. So traffic is moving much more smoothly and efficiently through 20 westbound over at exit 68. However, we still have an accident on 20 west over at the Fairfield Road exit 70. That one's still causing some slight backup. We got some more accidents, one on Percival Road at Highway 12 at Clemson Road, another one on Highway 6 near US 76 and Dutch Fork Road, one on Columbiana Drive at Columbiana Circle, and lastly, one on Clemson Road near Rame Road in North Springs.
It is drive around the SEC time on this Wednesday. Before I do that, let me do a couple of things here. As I told you, we do have some weather information. The National Weather Service has issued a tropical storm warning for most of the western half of South Carolina, certainly in our listening area here, Richland County, Lexington County, Orangeburg County, Newberry County, Lee County, Kershaw County, Fairfield County, Calhoun County, all of you now, all of us now, if you will, under a tropical storm warning for, let's call it the next 36 hours. On that note, the Braves-Mets game has been postponed for tonight. It is scheduled to be made up as part of a doubleheader tomorrow beginning at beginning at 1 o'clock. Sorry, not tomorrow. Both games have been postponed today and tomorrow. Let me get this right. Come on, Phillips. It's in English. Be made up as part of a doubleheader Monday. And the playoffs start Tuesday. This now, I'm just going to let you know, I'm taking Monday off.
Planning ahead of time. I like it.
I mean, I will be, you haven't seen me in baseball playoff mode yet. And I know that it won't technically be the playoffs. I hope
this is the playoffs.
Well, I hope now the Braves have 2 days off. Now the question becomes, and I'm dead serious, Sale and Fried were supposed to go tonight and tomorrow night against your hated rival. Now, what does Snit do? You know, do you go ahead and I guess you still got to pitch Sale and Fried the next times they go out. But you won't have them for New York. And what will New York do? This gets really antsy. So New York will fly now to Milwaukee. They'll go ahead and leave, I imagine. I mean, these are chartered planes. So you'll go ahead and fly to Milwaukee sometime tonight. And you'll just chill out in Milwaukee for a bit and go see the Laverne and Shirley Brewery. And then you'll play 3 games in Milwaukee, and then you'll fly back to Atlanta Sunday night for a doubleheader. Braves at least get to stay at home. So now Braves and Mets are like just pulling for Arizona to tank it. Just get them out of the way.
I mean, but the Monday, Mets do have to play Milwaukee. Then Milwaukee's good.
Milwaukee's good. But Monday, I'm just telling you that I'll have it on one of these TVs in here, man.
And you're going to be locked in.
I won't be locked out. Listen, my girls laugh at me like Braves playoff games. I do not sit. I pace.
I feel that.
I pace, man. I go to different rooms. If it's like a really nervy moment, I'll even if there's nothing in it, I'll open the dishwasher and try to empty it. I stay, you know what I'm saying? When normal Braves games, I'm fine.
Can't even look.
Normal Braves games, I'm fine. But when it gets to be, when I say abnormal, when it gets to be, the extra,
when you're living and dying by every pitch.
I do not sit. I pace. I get nervous. My hands are all sweaty because I am that big a Braves fan. So anyway, Braves, Mets, postponed tonight, postponed tomorrow. This hurricane is big, y'all. I'm being serious for a minute. Hurricane Helene is expected to be a Category 4 when it makes landfall somewhere around the Panhandle area here pretty soon. It's big. It's ugly. And, again, it's going to head right into Georgia and right into western South Carolina and then make its way up to the mountains. So, even the folks up in Asheville and Cherokee, like if you were planning on going gambling in Cherokee this weekend because you didn't have a Carolina game or a Clemson, well, Clemson's got a game, but, whatever, like it's going to rain in Cherokee. Just letting you know. But you'll be all right.
That's
You'll be in a
forecast,
casino.
right?
You won't even know. You won't know what the heck's going
There's
on.
no windows. Yeah.
Right.
No, you'll be blissfully unaware of the horrors that lie outside the building.
They'll take care of you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Honestly, that might be is that the best place to be during a storm like that?
It's just
a casino?
Right. Where reality does not exist. Gambling is easy. And they have free drinks.
Best part. Best
All
part.
right. So, look, we got to have some levity when these kind of things roll through. But in all seriousness, this thing's coming. But like I said, all those basically, I suppose if you're a little bit, towards our eastern listening area, like Lee County was there, Florence County, Darlington County, y'all were not, but you might still get something. So be
We'll more
ready.
than likely get something.
And I didn't see Sumter on there either, but maybe it was. But anyway, y'all just be ready in Sumter County too.
Be ready. Be safe. Be strong. I'm strong. You strong. We strong then.
A quick drive around the SEC for you. We start looking at this weekend's games. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the fact that the Georgia-Bama game is the biggest game in the country. But how important, in your opinion, Elijah Campbell, does the Oklahoma at Auburn game become as both schools started 0-1 in conference play and both have, dare I say, quarterback struggles?
Yes, this is a pivotal game. I think the loser of this game will be looking at a catastrophic season based on the standards they set for themselves going into it. I think Auburn's standards were a little lofty considering they don't bring anything back from a quarterback position that was going to give you any confidence they can get the ball into the hands of their skilled, newly acquired receivers. And for Oklahoma, it's worse because you had a quarterback that you thought was your future, that you felt comfortable letting Dylan Gabriel walk and go to Oregon. And it hasn't gone very well for Jackson Arnold. So this is a game that for Oklahoma, with a new quarterback in, maybe this gives you new life and you can maybe turn your season around. The season's not completely over for them by any means. They're 3-1. I hate talking about them sometimes like they're 1-3, but at the same time, you got a quarterback question you need to have figured out. This could be a good game to figure it out. And if you're Auburn, you also have a quarterback situation right now, and your coach is playing everybody but himself. So this is a game that you need to win to show you that you are at least a competent SEC program, because in year number 2, if you freeze, there is no sign of life in that category. So really, this is the ultimate SEC anxiety bowl. And if you're a team like Oklahoma, who's got a tougher schedule than Auburn does, this is one of your last really winnable games in the conference slate.
Auburn is a 2.5-point home underdog. So Sooners very slight favorites in this one. Ole Miss comes here next week. They've got Kentucky first. Allen, and this isn't really pushing back on Allen, mentioned, maybe close to a 3-score underdog is what Carolina would be when Ole Miss comes here. They are 17.5-point favorites at home over Kentucky. What does that say about what they might look like coming here next week? And again, I don't know.
If they thump Kentucky pretty good, like I expect them to,
right?
Then I can see them coming in here as like 15.5-point favorites, 13, 14, 15. I think it could be 2 scores. I don't think 3 maybe, but 2 seems about right. And of course, a lot of this, like most gambling lines, will be like contingent on what happens in Oxford on Saturday.
Right. At this point, do you want to guess? I want you to guess. You haven't looked at the FPI, have you?
I have not. For Ole Miss,
Kentucky. Yeah, just guess.
Okay. I'm going to go 91% Ole Miss.
Oh, wow, dude. 90.5%.
No!
You got very, very, very close. Well done. 90.5% chance.
ESPN, FPI, and I have a high of mind
for Ole Miss to win the game. And then at a neutral field, Arkansas and A&M, both 1-0 in the conference, with Arkansas winning last week. In fact, both have road wins, yes? So that's kind of interesting. This is a neutral field. Texas A&M technically the home team, so they get to wear their maroon or whatever they call that color.
I like it better in that.
A&M -4. You know what?
Is Marcel Reed still quarterbacking?
I think Arkansas is going to win this game, man. I don't know why I feel that way, but they've played
And that game's always close every year. Even when Arkansas is bad, they overachieve in that game, and even when A&M is well, they're always like 8 wins, but like they don't play necessarily like an 8-win team. Like those teams give each other their best. That's a pretty fun little rivalry there, and they always play well in Jerry World. Man, I think I'd go A&M still.
Yeah,
I think I'm still leaning towards A&M.
I just feel like Arkansas Sam's got something going again. You know, he's got a little Pittman magic kind of.
I do love watching Taylor Green play football. He's fun.
It's been fun, man. It's been fun.
He's
That's
fun.
the word to use. It's fun.
He's very fun.
That's the beauty of this
in a multitude
sport.
of ways.
And sort of a trick question, because as I ask it, you'll probably get it. Bigger spread: Texas over Mississippi State in Austin, or LSU over South Alabama in Baton Rouge?
Oh man, it's got to be Texas, right?
The Texas spread. First, the LSU spread is rather large. LSU minus 22 over a South Alabama team that scores like 1,000 points a game.
Yeah, they dropped 87 on Northwestern State and put up 45, 47 on App.
Yeah. Texas minus 39.
Oh, God. They gave them a spread that would be like what they had playing Louisiana Monroe.
Yeah. Yikes. That's the drive around the SEC, brought to you by Herndon Chevy, your hometown Chevy dealer. Stop by. See why Herndon makes you smile. Coming back at you here on the Postgame Show. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of the postgame show here on this Wednesday afternoon. Jay and Elijah with you. Terry texted me a minute ago with some intel, and I looked it up not to say I was like doubting Terry Ford's abilities here, but are verbal contracts legal in Nevada? It seems they are, and as they are, I think in most states. I'm not an attorney, so I'm not going to. I guess I could call one of those numbers and ask a.
What one? The help
I don't
lines?
I don't need like help with any other than is a verbal contract in another state legal?
I just have a question. I don't need any help per se.
But you got to prove it.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
You got to prove it. And if you just tuned in again, there's a massive NIL story that continues to develop at UNLV. Their quarterback Matthew Sluka has decided to stop playing this season, maintain his eligibility. He'll redshirt. He'll transfer in January. He says, as his father and agent do, that he was promised by an assistant coach who was recruiting him during the transfer window back in January $100,000 to play this season. He was a highly recruited kid out of Holy Cross. He was one of the. I think he might have been the Player of the Year in the FCS.
He was a finalist for the Walter Payton Award.
Okay, so one of them,
which is the FCS Heisman.
Right. UNLV put out a statement that said no. Well, excuse me. The school put out a statement saying that they felt like they were being extorted. They didn't use the word extortion. I think their statement is crap. The collective put out a statement that said no formal NIL offer was ever made, which again is crap because why wouldn't you make a formal NIL offer? It is a lot like the Florida Jaden Rashada case because if Barry Odom had no knowledge and had one of his assistants out there just running his mouth and the school had no knowledge, then this is what I've been talking about too, Elijah. The schools have to run this, but the schools don't want to run this. And right now the schools will tell you we can't because there's a rule. Again, go and call a meeting. I don't care who it is. Call a bleeping meeting and take that rule off the books because it's not helping anybody do anything good anymore at all. NIL is here to stay, period. End of story. Now, can it be contained in different ways? Yes, if there is a true ability to collectively bargain.
That's the big thing.
And that's what they need to be spending their time and energy on.
That's the solution.
It is.
It protects all parties involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Stop fighting this. Just stop fighting this and the hope and the illusion of amateurism. I get it, man. Again, I grew up around it. You grew up around college sports. Most of you listening grew up around college sports. I understand that what we want in some sort of Norman Rockwell ideal. But I'm here to tell you, as somebody who's worked in this for more than half my life, and I know tons of people across the landscape, that ideal never, ever, ever existed. And let me give you one piece of fact to prove why. There's a thing called the National Collegiate Athletics Association.
Pretty big deal.
You've heard of it. It was created more than 100 years ago because a bunch of schools thought that a bunch of other schools were doing it wrong. And it's been there ever since. There's never been an ideal of, oh, hey, this is cool. It's never been like that. And that doesn't mean it's bad. We love it. And look at what Disney and Fox and CBS and Universal NBC are paying for it. So we get it. NFL is the biggest sport in the country. College football is the second biggest sport. And college football is killing the NBA and Major League Baseball and MLS. It's killing it.
Over 6 million people watched both Southern Cal and Michigan.
Yeah.
And Tennessee, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Both those games, 2 different networks.
Yeah. So, the new era is here. And let me say again, too, that there's plenty of money. I'm going to use a stat I've been using a bunch lately because it's also real. The year Carolina and Arkansas joined the SEC, 1992, 91, 92 school year officially. Since then till now, inflation in this country has gone up just over 100%. Revenues into the Southeastern Conference alone during the same period have gone up more than 1,000%. There's
money.
The money is there. The money is there. And the new era is here, too. And, don't forget the slap-arounds in federal court that the NCAA has suffered. The new era is here, and it's time for those that run college athletics to embrace it. Quit fighting it. You're going to keep losing. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow.